Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump announces peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan to be signed later today at the White House. What are the risks and benefits of the occupation of Gaza City compared to a more limited approach? We discuss with the Middle East Affairs analyst. The Trump administration considers military action against Mexican drug cartels. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum says U.S. forces will not enter the country. The United States has doubled its reward for information leading to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The reasons behind the move. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem highlights recent efforts by ICE to remove criminal illegal immigrants. Hear her message to sanctuary cities and states. A robo-taxi falls into a construction gap in China. The incident renews concerns about autonomous rides.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Peace takes center stage as the Trump administration brokers another agreement to stop armed conflict. President Trump will host a signing ceremony today at the White House for a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and other Trump administration updates.
President Trump said he'd today be hosting the president of Azerbaijan for a historic peace summit at the White House. The two nations have engaged in cross-border conflicts since the late 1980s. Trump will also sign bilateral agreements with Armenia and Azerbaijan to pursue economic opportunities together. Trump says the agreements will fully unlock the potential of the South Caucasus region. The energy-producing region neighbors Europe, Turkey, Iran, and Russia. The region is intersected by gas and oil pipelines, but beset by long-standing ethnic conflicts and closed borders. The Trump administration is also taking on what it views as unfair banking practices. President Trump signed an executive order Thursday to stop banks from denying people financial services because of their political or religious beliefs, a practice known as debanking. The measure requires federal banking regulators to investigate whether banks have engaged in politicized or unlawful debanking and to issue penalties such as fines or consent decrees. The order also directs regulators to remove terms such as reputational risk from their guidance, language that has allegedly been used to justify debanking, and it directs the Small Business Administration to ask all banks under its oversight to try to reinstate those previously denied financial services. The Bank Policy Institute, American Bankers Association, Consumer Bankers Association, and Financial Services Forum thank the administration for its efforts to protect access to banking and rein in runaway regulations. President Trump has nominated Stephen Moran to serve on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Moran is currently the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. He is filling a vacancy left by Adriana Kugler, who resigned last week. If confirmed by the Senate, Moran won't be serving on the board for long. He will only be serving out Kugler's term, which was slated to end in January. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem highlighting the challenges facing ICE when trying to arrest criminal illegal immigrants. Here she is speaking from her press conference in Illinois today.
In just the last 7 months, ICE has issued over 1,664 detainers in Chicago alone. 1,664 detainers we have lodged against violent criminals, and that is a 106% increase over what was issued during the Biden administration. Unfortunately, Chicago and its leadership has only honored 8% of those. That means every other person, when they're released from paying for the consequences of their crimes, back onto our streets without any notification to individuals or to the families that have been victimized by them.
Noem says ICE officers are facing a 1,000% increase in assaults against them. She also displayed roughly 44 pounds of fentanyl seized recently in Illinois, saying they are enough to kill 10 million people. The secretary is calling out the government of Illinois for embracing sanctuary policies and refusing to cooperate with the DHS. She says when politicians do that, they're choosing to protect criminals over American citizens. The Trump administration is considering military force to go after Mexico's drug cartels. U.S. officials said the president has directed the Pentagon to prepare options. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had this to say.
We cannot continue to just treat these guys as local street gangs. They have weaponry that looks like what terrorists, in some cases armies have. They control territory in many cases. Those cartels extend from the Maduro regime in Venezuela, which is not a legitimate government. We don't recognize the Maduro regime as legitimate. It is a criminal enterprise, all the way to the various different cartels that operate in Mexico. And in between, you find them in Ecuador, you find them in Guatemala, you find TDA, what people would call street gangs, but actually are operating as criminal enterprises, but very well organized ones. So what it changes is it gives us legal authorities to target them in ways you can't do if they're just a bunch of criminals. It's no longer a law enforcement issue.
Today, the New York Times reported that Trump had signed a directive to begin using military force against the cartels. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said that the U.S. military would not be entering Mexican territory. Trump has previously offered to send U.S. troops to Mexico to help Sheinbaum combat drug trafficking. Sheinbaum said in May she had refused the offer. Trump has previously indicated that the U.S. could take unilateral military action if Mexico failed to eliminate the cartels. The United States has doubled its reward for information leading to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Officials are now offering $50 million for his capture over allegations of drug trafficking and links to criminal groups.
Today, the Department of Justice and State Department are announcing a historic $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. Maduro uses foreign terrorist organizations like TDA, Sinaloa, and Cartel of the Suns to bring deadly drugs and violence into our country. Under President Trump's leadership, Maduro will not escape justice, and he will be held accountable for his despicable crimes.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said to date, the Drug Enforcement Administration has seized 30 tons of cocaine linked to Maduro and his associates. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement last night, Maduro has been a leader of Cartel de los Soles for more than a decade. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil said on Telegram that the announcement was a smokescreen. The Venezuelan Information Ministry did not respond to a request for comment. Expect more police in Washington, D.C. The Trump administration says it beefed up the presence of federal law enforcement starting yesterday evening. It comes just days after a well-known former Department of Government Efficiency staffer was assaulted in D.C. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the move aims to protect innocent citizens. CNN reported the increased presence is part of a 7-day effort with the option to extend. The effort will be led by the Park Police with participation from the Capitol Police, the FBI, U.S. Marshals Service, the D.C. Police, the DEA, and other agencies. The White House pointed to several high-profile crimes in D.C., including the killing of 2 Israeli embassy staff members in May, in justifying the police presence. Israel's security cabinet just approved a plan to take full military control of Gaza's largest city. It's a move that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says is critical for security. Here's a closer look.
The Israeli Security Cabinet early on Friday approved the plan to establish full military control over Gaza City. Netanyahu's office says the military will prepare to take control while providing humanitarian aid to civilians outside combat zones. Netanyahu told Fox News on Thursday that the goal is to take control of the entire Gaza Strip and remove the Hamas terror group from power.
We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life. That's not possible with Hamas.
He accused Hamas of brutality against both Israelis and Palestinians, saying the group uses civilians as human shields and manipulates food supplies.
Look at what they're doing to our people. Look at what they're doing to the way they massacred, raped, beheaded our people, our men and women, burned our babies. And they are really cruel to their own people because when we try to take them away from the combat zones, they shoot them.
Hamas is calling the plan an attempt to derail negotiations. The announcement comes amid protests in Jerusalem against any expanded war. Hundreds gathered outside the Prime Minister's office on Thursday. They demanded an end to the military campaign in return for the release of all hostages. Israeli officials believe 50 hostages remain in Gaza, with only 20 thought to still be alive. Netanyahu says rescuing them remains a top priority.
We're doing everything in our power to salvage the hostages. Without military pressure, nothing works.
But the UN warns expanding operations could be catastrophic for civilians and further jeopardize the safety of the hostages. After nearly 2 years of war, Israel says it now controls about 3/4 of Gaza. Most of the population has been displaced multiple times, and aid groups warn the enclave is on the verge of famine.
Now, Netanyahu just released a statement regarding Israel's plans for Gaza. He says the military won't occupy the enclave, but rather free it from Hamas. He added that Gaza will be demilitarized and a peaceful civilian administration will be established. International leaders are now reacting to Israel's plan to expand in Gaza. The American ambassador to Israel is among the officials making a statement. Take a look.
We care very much about the way things go forward, but it's never been the role of the U.S. to dictate Israel's policy any more than it would be the policy of Israel to dictate our policy.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says Israel must reconsider its plan to take control of Gaza City. At the same time, she's also calling on Hamas terrorists to release all remaining hostages. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says Israel's decision to take control of the city is wrong. He's urging the Israeli government to reconsider. According to Starmer, the plan won't bring an end to the fighting or help secure the release of hostages. The Israeli government says it plans to take control of the city while providing humanitarian and aid to civilians outside the combat zones. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Europe. Vance kicked off a trip in the United Kingdom with a meeting with British Foreign Secretary David Lammy today. Vance was asked about recognizing a Palestinian state and the situation in Gaza.
Well, it's one of the things that we're going to talk about. Obviously, the United Kingdom is going to make its decision. We have no plans to recognize a Palestinian state. I don't know what it would mean to really recognize a Palestinian state, given the lack of a functional government there. You know, what the president has made very clear is our two goals are very simple right now vis-a-vis the situation in Israel and Gaza. Number one, we want to make it so that Hamas cannot attack innocent Israeli civilians ever again, and we think that has to come through the eradication of Hamas. Second, the president has been very moved by these terrible images of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, so we want to make sure that we solve that problem. I think all of us can work on how to solve that problem. Obviously, it's not an easy problem to solve, or it would have already been dealt with. But we share, I think, that focus and that goal. We may have some disagreements about how exactly to accomplish that goal, and we'll talk about that today.
Vance was also asked about the 2028 election. The vice president says he is not focused on the next presidential contest. The comments come after President Trump recently suggested he was a front-runner to replace him. Vance says he is not even really focused on the election in 2026, much less 1 to 2 years after that. Vance says if they do a good job for the American people, the politics will take care of itself. And joining us now to discuss Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to occupy Gaza City is David Wormser, Middle East Affairs Analyst at the Center for Security Policy and former Senior Advisor to U.S. Vice President Cheney on the Middle East and Strategic Affairs. David, always great to see you. Thanks for coming on today. So the Israeli Security Cabinet has approved the plan. Would you characterize this new development as an escalation in the war or perhaps a new phase shifting now to occupation?
Yeah, I think you captured it well in the second half there with the new phase. An escalation, it certainly is also part. But it is not really a fundamental ground shift that it seems. I mean, at first one, here's the occupation of Gaza, and then you look under the lid, and it's occupation of Gaza City. And what Israel's really doing right now, it seems, is they're taking the northern third of Gaza final. But then they think that maybe that will be enough of a hit to Hamas that they'll come back to the negotiating table and still work out a deal. And that's important for the Israelis because an invasion of all of Gaza in one shot most likely will get all the hostages killed. And the Israeli government isn't willing to write off the lives of the remaining living 20 hostages. So they're still trying to essentially build leverage against Hamas to try to bring them down to their knees to give in and give up the remaining hostages.
Okay, can you elaborate on that point? You mentioned bringing Hamas back to the negotiation table. What core problems is this move trying to solve?
Well, the core problem is that Hamas still has put forward demands, actually increasingly rigid and intransigent demands, after the Europeans went ahead and recognized or said they would recognize a Palestinian state. It actually hardened the position of Hamas, and their position is essentially they will give up the hostages only when Israel withdraws from Gaza, and and the world guarantees that Israel will not attack Hamas, which continues to rule in Gaza at that point, and only at the end of which will all the hostages be released. So essentially, it would be an end of the war, guaranteed internationally, so that Israel cannot stop Hamas from rearming and rebuilding, and a restoration of Hamas's control over all of Gaza, and possibly not even then, because the hostages are released, because the hostages are at the end of that. So Israel would have to essentially accept surrender and defeat in Gaza and return to the status quo of October 6th, prior to the war's beginning, rather than get back its hostages and remove Hamas from power. That, of course, also violates American policy.
Okay, can you talk to us about the potential military and political implications of this move?
Well, politically in Israel, first of all, half the country is terrified that this will lead to the death of the hostages. And that, of course, in Israel is a political hot potato. There really is a feeling that you can't leave these people behind and you can't give up on them, and that there would be a rip in the fabric of Israeli society if the government did anything that would lead to the death of the hostages. On the other hand, you have other half of the country basically saying you've got hundreds of hostages in the future and dead Israelis if you let Hamas rule Gaza. So there's a fundamental divide there. The United States is more on the side of Israel's government, which argues that they must not lose this war. Hamas must be removed from power so that you never again can have another October 7th. The other side are the Palestinians, that there is a feeling in Israel and in the United States that the Palestinians would best be served by a rapid destruction of Hamas and putting in power an international structure of distribution of aid and governance that is humane and gets food to everybody, rather than the terrorist structure that's under Hamas. So and that divides the United States and Israel from Europe, which believes the other way around.
So there's a lot of debate, as you alluded to just now. Can you compare to and contrast as well for us the IDF Chief of Staff's plan to encirclement and targeted airstrikes, which is more limited than an occupation of Gaza City?
The Chief of Staff's plan, the IDF Chief of Staff's plan, is essentially a continuation of what we've seen, and it's really a continuation of the policy the Biden administration preferred, which is that Israel not hold territory, not get itself in the business of being in control of civilian populations, and instead it goes in, when it has intelligence, it goes in, gets a leader, comes out, and in doing that, you whittle away at Hamas's command and control, and you whittle away at their ability to function. And at some point, the expectation is Hamas would either choose to negotiate and deal or collapse, both of which would lead to the freeing of the hostages, which wouldn't be threatened in a static position. Those opposing that say, first of all, this has been tried and it doesn't work. Hamas hasn't given in. 2, their command and control is not weakening necessarily. And 3, the hostages are dying as we speak, because they're being starved to death. So there is no long term. There is no pressure that could be applied over 6 months or 12 months. So there's a real fundamental divide between the Chief of Staff's plan, which is very much in line with what we've seen for the last 2 years, and the new plan, which is the beginning of a fundamental shift. And I emphasize beginning. It's not the full fundamental shift yet.
Do you think the new plan could draw out the war even longer, and perhaps expanding ground operations could pose increased risk to civilians?
Well, it certainly increases some risk to civilians. It decreases risk to Israeli soldiers, and it increases risk to Israeli hostages, but also increases risk to Hamas and its governance when Palestinians in Gaza begin to realize that Israel's going all the way and is going to take out Hamas. Then a lot of them will make their political calculations, and they'll give intelligence, they'll help, and even collaborate with the Israelis. Right now, collaboration is a death sentence. And they know if Hamas rules at the end, they're going to face that, which is why none of these pressures worked until now. So yes, there are definitely risks and dangers with this escalation. On the positive side, though, it will bring the war to an end. It will end when the Israeli ground operation conquers all of Gaza, which is a few months. And then you move on to the post-war era, which is both no more shooting, but second of all, reconstruction and an understanding of where we go with the Palestinian community there.
And David, can we also talk about the international reaction to this new development? You've already seen the position of the UK, European Union. Do you think this will impact Israel's relations with certain Western countries?
It definitely does. The Israelis have their hostages starving to death deliberately by Hamas. And what they're seeing is European countries are buckling under the pressure and recognizing a Palestinian state without even getting the hostages out. And this is embittering the Israelis. They feel abandoned by Europe. On the other hand, they feel very encouraged by the United States and its support. At this point, the Israelis believe any recognition of a Palestinian state will be interpreted by the Palestinians in the Arab world and their enemies as a validation of the attack on October 7th. It will directly couple October 7th to these recognition of states. And the Israelis are terrified of what that means, not only for themselves, but for the West's position there. So the Israelis are in quite a state of tension right now with numerous European countries. They, in Europe, depend on Israel considerably for intelligence sharing and cooperation on terrorism. And there's definitely discussion in Israel right now about limiting or halting some of that discussion with Europe.
So if Israel achieves military control over Gaza City, what are the possible outcomes for governance in Gaza? Perhaps a non-Hamas aligned Arab force?
Well, yeah, there's two parts to it. The first of all is the population has moved south, and then eventually Israel goes into those areas, and the populations are moved through filters to safe areas. And that essentially filters out Hamas and leaves what's left as a free fire zone where only those who are there are those who want to be there and fight Israel. They're not the civilian population anymore. So there's that. And the first process of that is Gaza City. The second part of that is it brings all the humanitarian distribution structure to the civilian population, which at that point is under Israeli control. It will bring it to a point where the GHF, the American structure, can distribute the food for free without Hamas pulling money from that, confiscating the food and selling it at exorbitant rates for funding. That's how Hamas right now funds itself. So it would also choke to death the funding structure of Hamas. So this is the strategy, and this is how it works with the civilian population. But the intention at the end is to bring the entire civilian population under Israeli control so that the entire humanitarian distribution structure comes under international effective control in the United States. And then that opens the door for the Arab countries and the rest to come in and administer, essentially govern the territory.
Well, okay, David, great insight as always, and always appreciate your time. Thank you. Coming up, the federal court system becomes vulnerable to cyber attacks. Judges sound the alarm on vulnerabilities. Stay tuned for that and more when we return.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, plumbing, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. No more headaches searching for technicians. No more budget-breaking chaos. Just a peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-210-6422, 800-210-6422.
If joint pain from aging is slowing you down, Omega XL can help you get back in the saddle, just like it did for John Walsh.
Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. Got to be really fit to ride these horses. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL, and look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years.
I'm Reve Walsh. I'm John Walsh's wife. I ride fox hunters, and sometimes I'm in the saddle for 3-5 hours at a time. A lot of work out here.
I wouldn't have been able to do this. Muck a stall, throw hay, do all the things that needs to be done on a ranch a couple years ago. But Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great.
Once you try it, you don't want to be without it. Makes a huge difference.
It does. Take it every single day, and you know, there's a benefit. It's made you a lot nicer to me.
If you've been living with pain, it's time to get this special offer, the Omega XL, the joint health supplement that millions have trusted for more than 20 years. Omega XL, it's sourced from the green-lipped mussel, exclusively found in the pristine waters of New Zealand, some of the cleanest waters on Earth. Omega XL, it's natural, drug-free, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research that show it really works. Try Omega XL today. Pick up your phone and call the number at the bottom of your screen right now for a special offer. Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $100. But call today and you pay only $39.95. That's a savings of more than 60%. Plus, it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee.
Try it. You got nothing to lose.
Call or go online right now to get this special offer. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3 for only $39.95. Call now.
The federal court system is working to protect sensitive case documents. Escalated cyber attacks are impacting its management system. While the vast majority of court documents are available to the public, some are sealed and contain confidential or proprietary information. Cybersecurity has become a prominent issue as information technology becomes an integral part of the court system. The Judicial Conference of the United States has been warning about the problem for months. In its August 7th press release, the judiciary said it was working with Congress and the executive branch to mitigate security issues. The Federal Aviation Administration is ramping up its hiring efforts. The agency aims to bring on thousands of new air traffic controllers to address a decades-long staffing shortage. The FAA's updated plan calls for 2,000 new recruits in 2025 and nearly 9,000 by 2028. That's alongside thousands of new aviation safety inspectors and engineers over the next decade. FAA Administrator Brian Bradford said growing the workforce is critical to adapting to rapid changes in the aviation industry. The shortage has persisted since President Reagan fired over 11,000 striking controllers in 1981, and staffing levels have never fully recovered. The problem was compounded by early retirements during the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier this year, it came into the spotlight again after a deadly mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. In California, the Canyon Fire in Los Angeles and Ventura counties has rapidly spread, forcing evacuations. The blaze ignited yesterday afternoon near the Lake Piru in the Los Padres National Forest. Here are the details.
Yet another wildfire has erupted in Southern California. The Canyon fire started Thursday afternoon, initially estimated at 30 acres in size, but it spread quickly and was at more than 1,000 acres within 2 hours. Evacuations were ordered, and by Thursday evening, the flames had scorched close to 5,000 acres. The blaze, which started in Ventura County and rapidly moved into Los Angeles County, came as firefighters already had their hands more than full with the nearby Gifford fire, for which new evacuation orders and warnings were issued Thursday. It has burned nearly 100,000 acres and was just 15% contained as of Thursday night.
Our firefighters out there are doing a good job, but the terrain is steep.
The helicopters are a great tool for the firefighting that we're doing out here. They can work deeper into the canyons.
Meanwhile, in Colorado, an otherworldly haze enveloping the landscape as the Lee Fire rages near the town of Meeker. The blaze has already burned tens of thousands of acres, and firefighters are also contending with the Elk Fire nearby. All this coming as Hawaii observes the somber second anniversary of the deadly fires on Maui. Friday marks 2 years since the blazes killed more than 100 people and caused $6 billion in damages.
High schools and colleges in California may be using more technology going forward. Big tech companies are partnering with the Golden State to bring AI tools to the classroom. NTD's David Lamb reports.
California is partnering with major tech companies to prepare residents for a, quote, AI-ready workforce.
It's the center of the universe when it comes to artificial intelligence. There's simply no other jurisdiction, no other region, no other state in the world that can lay claim to the kind of entrepreneurial and innovative spirit, the kind of investments that are being made here, the human capital.
The Memorandum of Agreement signed Thursday will support teachers and students in community colleges and the California State University systems. High schools will also modernize their curriculum to give students the latest AI tools. Google, Adobe, IBM, and Microsoft will work with the state to help train California's workforce for a wide range of jobs in AI.
We're also providing generative AI courses to California's middle school and high school teachers. This will empower them to personalize instruction, create more dynamic lessons, free up their time to focus on what matters most.
Governor Newsom's office says it would come at no cost to taxpayers, and some Google certificate programs could earn accreditation.
And the California community colleges are rising to meet the moment. So with the Google certificates, we are giving them college credit.
We're guided by the belief that the best way to predict the future is to give everyone the power to create it.
The governor's office said that 33 of the top 50 private AI companies are in California. It also said the tech companies already shared programs with the educational institutions as the leaders start to put their plans into action. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
A helicopter accident killed both people on board after they crashed into a barge on the Mississippi River. The National Transportation Safety Board said the helicopter hit power lines before the crash. A Coast Guard spokesperson said no one was on board the barge, which caught fire after the crash. A stretch of the Mississippi River near Alton, Illinois, remained closed this morning. There was no estimate for when it would reopen. The closure would delay barges carrying grain to the U.S. Gulf from Midwestern farms. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating the crash. It's been nearly 24 years since the terror attacks of September 11th. Today, the New York City medical examiner identified the remains of 3 people who perished after hijackers flew 2 passenger jets into the World Trade Center. The newly identified victims are Ryan Fitzgerald and Barbara Keating. The third victim is a woman whose name is being withheld at her family's request. Fitzgerald was working in the South Tower on the morning of September 11th, 2001. Keating was a passenger on the hijacked American Airlines flight which hit the North Tower. Fitzgerald was 26-year-old, Keating was 72. Officials in Pennsylvania say a man who ambushed and shot 2 state troopers has died. Yesterday's attack took place near the town of Thompson after the troopers responded to a 911 call. State Police Commissioner Christopher Paris said both men are in stable condition. Here he is.
The troopers made it out of their vehicle and they were ambushed. Trooper Parashinsky was shot twice in the chest/torso area. Trooper Jenkins was shot twice as well, once in each arm. Both of our troopers currently are stable, and with the help of the continued prayers of the community and their will to continue on, they will be with us, and we are extremely, extremely grateful for that.
Commissioner Paris said the suspect, identified as Carmine Fano, was shot and killed. He said Fano killed his neighbor Lori Wasco, prompting an emergency call from her boyfriend. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said he visited the troopers in the hospital who are in stable condition. Commissioner Paris said the suspect also shot an EMT driving to the scene. He took evasive action and crashed. Paris said he was injured but in stable condition. Coming up, a robo-taxi falls into a construction gap in China. The incident renews concerns about autonomous rides. Stay tuned.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
In the mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love, your mind.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here? I can see now.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges. Oh my goodness.
So Ariel, we made this yearbook for you. It has notes from all the people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Poland's leader says he thinks Russia and Ukraine might soon agree to a ceasefire. Prime Minister Donald Tusk spoke with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on the phone earlier today. He said they talked about Ukraine and the freeze in the conflict might be coming closer. This comes as President Trump appears to be making progress in the peace efforts with Russia. Trump is expected to meet with Zelensky and Russia's President Putin separately next week. Russia's President Vladimir Putin holds a call with India's Prime Minister Modi as Trump's deadline nears. Trump set today as the deadline for the Kremlin to end its war in Ukraine or suffer more sanctions. The Russian readout of the call said that Putin shared the main results of his conversation with Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff. A Baidu robo-taxi fell into a deep construction pit yesterday while carrying a passenger in China. Local media reports indicated that the female passenger was uninjured and was rescued by local residents. Video circulating on Chinese social media showed a white vehicle bearing a Baidu Apollo logo wedged between a gap. Baidu operates one of China's largest autonomous vehicle fleets. Baidu has also recently pushed to expand its robo-taxi service to global markets, signing partnerships with U.S. ride-hailing platforms Uber Technologies and Lyft. Next, to southern China, a small city in Sichuan province, Jiangyou has become the focus of public attention in recent days. Mass protests triggered by social injustice have lasted about a week. Authorities have deployed special police forces to crack down on the crowds. Chants that the regime fears most, such as "Down with the Chinese Communist Party," have also been heard on the streets. Some viewers may find the following footage disturbing. NTD's Flora Hua brings us the story.
Early Tuesday in Jiangyou, screams, police sirens, and angry protesters shouting filled the city's streets. Following the protesters' chants, local reports say police fired tear gas and flashbang grenades into the crowds. The protests have continued day and night. Numerous videos show police officers provoking protesters. Those beaten by police ranged in age, from college students to senior citizens. Some of those approaching the crowds appeared aggressive. They're the local police SWAT team. Bystanders recorded some demonstrators being arrested and loaded into cages on a truck, typically used to transport pigs, a move seen as deeply humiliating those detained. This has sparked widespread online criticism condemning the local authorities. The protests have now spread hundreds of miles away to Kunming. On Thursday, a man was seen outside a tourist site holding a banner that read, "Step down, Xi Jinping." So what sparked these mass protests? A video recently went viral online showing several teenage girls bullying another girl, bragging that they face no consequences from law enforcement. Local authorities say the bullies have been punished, but Chinese media reports see otherwise. That has sparked anger among many local residents. They're now demanding proper punishment for the bullies. Flora Hua, NTD News.
Calling for an end to forced organ harvesting, head of the House Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, John Mulinar, is urging Secretary of State Marco Rubio to disrupt China's lucrative market for selling illegal organs. In a letter to Rubio yesterday, Mulinar asked the State Department to use its reward programs to gather tips that could help bring those involved to justice. These programs already offer rewards for information on terrorism and transnational crime, but nothing has been ever offered for evidence on forced organ harvesting. Mulinar's letter points to extensive evidence from congressional hearings and independent investigations. It also cites a 2022 peer-reviewed study that finds Chinese surgeons have at times acted as executioners, intentionally removing organs from prisoners of conscience who weren't declared brain dead. Evidence suggests Falun Gong practitioners in China, Uyghurs, and other minority groups in Xinjiang have been targeted with their organs forcibly removed and sold. This violates the internationally recognized dead donor rule, which says organs can only be taken after the donor is confirmed dead. Mulinar says holding the Chinese regime accountable for the evidence of forced organ harvesting is critical to ending the horrific practice. A new development in the months-long Australia mushroom murder case. The woman who murdered 3 of her in-laws with toxic mushrooms also allegedly tried to kill her husband. A judge today allowed the disclosure of the new evidence. Here's the latest.
An Australian woman who murdered 3 of her in-laws with a meal of toxic mushrooms also allegedly tried to murder her husband using poisoned food, previously undisclosed evidence has shown.
So it's 3:29 p.m.
Erin Patterson was found guilty in July of poisoning her mother-in-law Gail Patterson, father-in-law Dom Patterson and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson with a lunch of beef Wellington containing death-cap mushrooms. Patterson was initially charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder in 2023, with 4 additional counts relating to her estranged husband, Simon Patterson. Justice Christopher Beale previously ruled the charges should be split into 2 separate trials before the prosecution dropped the attempted murder charges relating to Simon Patterson on the eve of the first trial. Details of the alleged attempts on her husband's life were never heard by the jury. Simon Patterson told the pre-trial hearing in October 2024 he kept a spreadsheet of his illnesses that the court heard all happened after eating his estranged wife's cooking. Suspicious meals included a pasta, a curry and a sandwich wrap. The alleged poisonings left him close to death. He became so ill he was temporarily paralysed and had part of his bowel removed, the court heard at the time. In each case, doctors were unable to conclusively determine the cause of his illnesses. Evidence from a computer seized from Patterson's home showing searches for other kinds of poisons was also excluded from the trial. After Patterson was found guilty last month, Justice Beale ordered the suppression of the pre-trial material to protect Patterson's appeal rights. But on Friday he lifted the restrictions, rejecting an argument by a defence team who said the material combined with intense media interest would jeopardise any potential of an appeal. Patterson maintained her innocence throughout the case that has gripped Australia, with her defence calling the deaths a terrible accident.
The Great American Farmers Market showcasing U.S. agriculture, local farmers and producers spread out across the National Mall this week. In eastern France, a retired metal worker and his grandson are making a mini replica of the Eiffel Tower based on the original 1889 plans. NTD's international correspondent David Vez has the story after the break.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
The Design Studio by Mathis Home is where your home decorating dreams come to life, with heirloom quality pieces for every room in your house. Right now, get the lowest prices of the year on top designer brands like Hooker, Universal, and Bernhard. We're the only place with designer furniture in stock, with complimentary delivery and design services. For the latest in luxury and style, visit us now for exclusive discounts. Now through Labor Day, only at the Design Studio by Mathis Home.
As we approach the 250th year of America's founding, the Agriculture Department celebrates farmers, ranchers, and producers on the National Mall. NTD's Melina Weisskopf takes us to the farmers market in Washington, D.C.
We are veteran-owned, 100% pickle company, all veterans in it. We support veterans. We give back to Operation Homefront with some of our proceeds. They help military families and veterans.
The first ever Great American Farmers Market showcasing the heart of our nation, agriculture.
I love the story behind it. Veteran owned, and it's all natural, and he hand picks them and hand cuts them and all that. But the other part is they're just delicious.
Spicy pickles, microgreens, fresh eggs, cheese, jams, and jellies. All classic farm fresh eats found at these traditional pop-up markets.
And we put about 15, 20 gallons of clover honey in each barrel. And then we rotate it daily for about 6 months. We empty it out. We're using honey on the battlefield now to protect people who've been injured or shot.
Small business owners and farmers from around the nation have gathered here in Washington, D.C., joined by one simple message. Healthy food makes for a healthy body, makes for a healthy mind.
We raise our own pigs, and we do not give them any added growth hormones. We buy organic minerals and vitamins to give to the pigs, and we're very strict on how we raise them. Children walking around that's 10 years old, but they look like 13, 14 years old. That's coming from our food source.
Yeah, and I work in education, and you can see a difference when kids don't eat real good food, and yeah, it's just important. It keeps your body healthy.
The market, hosted by the USDA, is part of the administration's efforts to support American agriculture and make healthy food more accessible.
Stage, and let's kick off this great American farmers market.
The USDA alone spends $405 million a day on nutrition programs, food stamps, etc., to begin to shift some of that money into buying more locally sourced healthy food, which again supports the smaller farmers.
Games teach kids about healthy eating. Live music and plenty of space for little ones to explore turns the popular tourist site into a family-friendly atmosphere.
Well, we saw that there might be Highland cows, so we wanted to come see some cows and some animals. And
nothing better than fresh veggies, and these look fabulous right here behind us. So
vendors spread out across the National Mall to share their hand-picked and handmade veggies and treats.
I will try the black pepper.
What makes this different than the corn you would see in the store or at the movie theater?
Oh, well, we make it fresh and hot right out of the kettle. Ma'am, would you like a sample? Kentucky-grown kernels. And so that's a little different too.
This market is just one of thousands across the nation. As National Farmers Market Week nears its end, the USDA reminds families to make a stop by their local markets and support American goods. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
In eastern France, a retired metal worker and his grandson are building a striking replica of the Eiffel Tower. Their project, nearly a decade in the making, recreates the landmark using original 1889 plans. NTD's international correspondent David Vivez has the story.
In an industrial park in eastern France, visitors may be surprised to find large red steel segments neatly arranged on the ground, resembling pieces of a dismantled Eiffel Tower. What they're actually seeing is a 1/10 scale replica of the famous Paris landmark, being built by a retired metal worker and his grandson in Sainte-Croix-aux-Mines. Jean-Claude Fassler, 77, and his grandson have spent the past 8 years recreating Gustave Eiffel's 1889 design using original architectural plans.
I've been a fan of architect Gustave Eiffel for a very long time. The Eiffel Tower is the most famous monument in the world, so I wanted to do that. But not as it is now. I prefer the original one.
Fassler began the project with tools and funds from his former business. Though now limited by age, he still oversees the progress while his grandson handles digital modeling, welding and assembly. Their collaboration began when Antenna became his apprentice at 14.
First of all, there are just the two of us, so I get to do more things than if there were 10 of us, obviously. And I get to be involved in everything. That is to say, the design, the drawing, the assembly, really everything.
Once complete, the structure will rise to 30 meters and reflect many details of the original, from its deep red Venice paint to decorative walkways and support columns.
Which Eiffel and his journeymen saw when they stood in front of the tower. I'll be proud of my grandson. It's going to be hard for me to do, continue to work with him, since he's going to do something else that's hard.
The structure is scheduled to be assembled on August 26, when a crane will lift the segments into position. Fassler hopes to sell the tower to cover costs, but plans to spend one night inside first, on the first level, before letting it go. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Now on to Britain, where an international balloon fiesta is turning heads today. Dozens of hot air balloons took to the sky during a mass launch at the Bristol event. According to event organizers, the annual fiesta saw the launch of over 100 hot air balloons. The fiesta is a 3-day event with hot air balloons taking off at dawn and dusk. In Chicago, thousands of bright yellow contenders take to the water for the 20th annual Ducky Derby, helping raise nearly $600,000 for Special Olympics Illinois. A record-setting 82,000 rubber ducks splashed into the Chicago River yesterday. Cheering them on was Duck Ambassador Zach Koppel, a longtime Special Olympics athlete from Highland Park. The festival kicked off with music, games, food trucks, and plenty of photo ops before the big splashdown from the Columbus Drive Bridge. Participants could adopt a duck for $10 and stood a chance to win prizes for Cubs tickets to a Chevy Trailblazer. Organizers say every donation supports programs that give athletes with intellectual disabilities the chance to grow and connect through sports, health, and leadership programs. Coming up, Democratic holdouts were missing again today for a special session held by the Texas House of Representatives. A lawsuit is asking for their arrest. We have that and more after the break.
There are real consequences to controlled media.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, plumbing, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. No more headaches searching for technicians. No more budget-breaking chaos. Just a peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-210-6422. 800-210-6422.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skip meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. You know, I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 kids face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for kids facing hunger this summer.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of children facing hunger from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org. Working together, we can end hunger in America.